What's up, guys? Msinfinity here. So, okay, it's story time. But before we get into this story, I'm going to throw this warning out there for anyone who gets queasy talking about things like this or listening to things like this. You should click out now. If you get weirded out by terms like mucus and blood and discharge and rupture fluid, now is not the time for you to be watching. So, this is my labor and delivery story. I said I would post it, and a couple of people have asked me to post it, so I'm gonna go ahead and do this. So, if you don't like listening to things like that, go away. Anywho, so, and yes, for anyone wondering, I bleached my hair, and it, yeah, the red turned pink, so I got multi-toned hair, but whatever, it's cute. Anywho, so, now that I am a month behind schedule doing this video, here goes. So on June 5th, which was a Monday, I went to the hospital for what I thought was going into labor. I was having contractions that were fairly regularly spread apart, and they were fairly strong. They weren't like super painful, but they were really close together, and they were stronger than what I was used to with the Braxton Hicks. So I went to the hospital to get checked out and everything, and after several hours of monitoring, they told me, fake labor, go home, you're fine, you're not having a baby yet. So I'm like, alright. So I went home, and the next day, Michael went to work, and I told him from the beginning of the pregnancy, the moment we think it's not going to happen, you're going to be busy or you're going to be at work, and that's when it's going to happen. I told him, and I was right. So he went into work, and he was supposed to be working like either 1 or 2 to close, and so he went in and he went to work, and I had been still having contractions. They were fairly regularly timed. They were between like 7, or they're between like 5 and 8 or 9 minutes apart, so not like super regular, but they tell you to go to the hospital when they're between 4 and 5 minutes apart, and happening, you have to have at least 4 an hour, lasting at least a minute, and needs to be going on for at least an hour before you go in. So that's what they suggest. So I had been having these contractions, and I was timing them using the app that I was using. I don't remember which of the 2 apps it was that I was using that had the contraction timer. I think it was Baby Center, but I'm not entirely sure. Don't quote me on that. It's either Baby Center or Ovia Pregnancy, because I was using both. So I was timing the contractions, and when they got down to being about 5 minutes apart, I decided, you know, I might need to go ahead and go in, but I wasn't entirely sure. That's Jackie. That's
Hey.
Michael's uncle, soon to be my uncle, or
Hey.
whenever we get married. But anywho, yeah, that's Uncle Jackie. So, anywho, I went back in on the 6th, because I had lost a good sized chunk of my mucus plug. Again, gross terms being used here, but that is what it's called. But they tell you, you know, it's normal for a woman to lose their mucus plug several times throughout pregnancy, and it will regenerate, and it will grow back, and you can lose it, you know, several times over and over. And I had been losing it for, God, almost a week, if not more. And, but on the 6th, I was losing blood with it. And they told you, they tell you, if it's pink tinged or you're losing blood with it, then to go ahead and go in. So I was losing blood with it as well, and that with the contractions, I'm like, you know, I should probably go ahead and go in. So I had Daddy Mike, Michael's dad, in case I've never mentioned him in a video before, I'm really not sure, but anyway, Michael's dad, he took me to the hospital along with my best friend Stephanie, because she was staying here at the time, and they took me to the hospital, and Stephanie went back to the room with me so that I wasn't alone, and they checked me, and I told them, look, I'm losing a lot of mucus, there's a lot of discharge, so I'm really not sure. They asked me if my water had broken, I told him I'm not sure. I'm losing a lot of mucus and there's a lot of discharge, and it was gross. Pregnancy really is gross. It's disgusting. But so they checked me, and the first doctor checked me, and she said that she wasn't entirely sure, so she had the second doctor check me, and the second doctor was like, "Yep, there's rupture fluid there," which meant my water had broken. So, seeing the confused look on my face, because I didn't know what that meant, I'm like, rupture fluid, I presume that means my water broke, but I don't know. She said, "Yep, your water broke, you're having a baby today." So, after I got over the initial shock, like, oh my god, this is happening, I called Michael, and that was close to 4 o'clock. My labor in total, like labor and delivery in total, what the doctor said, not counting the 5th, just counting what time they told me. I'm not entirely sure what time I got to the hospital and what time I was sent back and told you're going into active labor, but it was between 6 and 8 hours, somewhere in there. But I called Michael immediately to tell him, hey, you need to find someone to take over your shift for today, because we're having a baby. So he, of course, tells them and has to wait for someone to get there to cover his shift, or to get, confirmation that someone is coming in, and rushes to the hospital, obviously. They get me back into a room in labor and delivery, and when they checked me the first time, right before they sent me back, I was, I think 1.5 centimeters dilated, and was 60 or 70% effaced, meaning my cervix was 60 or 70% thinned out, which is what they look for to determine when, approximately when you're going to be having a baby. And when I went back, they checked me again. The doctor that was doing the delivery, he checked me again and said, "Okay, you're 3 centimeters dilated," and this was within like a 10, maybe 20-minute time span. I went up a centimeter and a half. I was 3 centimeters dilated and was 90% effaced. So it jumped very, very quickly. And the next 2 or 3 times they checked me, it was the same. And Michael had gotten there right before they were about to do my epidural. So they did my epidural, which it was weird because usually they don't do your epidural until you're between 4 and 6 centimeters dilated, but I was only 3. But with how fast it was coming and with how strong the contractions were, they decided to go ahead and do it. And for anyone worrying about, like, if you're pregnant now or plan to become pregnant and you're worried about the epidural, a lot of people tell you that it is the most painful thing ever and that it's horrible and it hurts really bad. It really doesn't. I mean, it sounds really scary having a 4-inch needle put into your spine. I mean, that sounds terrifying, right? But it really wasn't that bad. The worst part about it was the numbing, which is what the doctors will tell you. They'll tell you the worst part about it is the numbing. After the numbing, you barely feel it. And they were definitely right. The numbing hurt. They say it feels like a bee sting, but that part they're lying about. Not to scare you or anything, but it feels more like you're being stung by 100 wasps at once. It does not feel good. The numbing burns. I think what they're talking about with the bee sting thing is that it just, the needle itself that they use to inject the numbing medication in, that's what feels like the bee sting, the needle. But the medicine does not feel good at all. It burns. But within a couple of minutes, if that, you're completely numb. Like, you don't feel the needle going in at all. They tell you to lean forward, like all the way forward, put your head forward, and tell you not to move, which is very, very important, yes, because they're putting a needle into your spinal cord. I mean, don't move. If you move, I mean, there is obviously the chance that you will become paralyzed. So they tell you not to move. So I didn't move, I breathed, I was crying the whole time. I am a big baby when it comes to things like that. I was terrified. But they did it. It took maybe 15 minutes. In total, 15-20 minutes to do the epidural. And after that, they stay in the room with you for a little bit and ask, every couple of minutes, how you feeling? How do your legs feel? And within 20 minutes or so, I couldn't feel anything from about here, from about my rib, the top of my rib cage down. Couldn't feel anything. not a single thing. So they went ahead and put the catheter in. And kept feeling on my legs, kept tapping them, making sure that I couldn't feel anything. And I was all good to go. And after that, I didn't feel contractions whatsoever. Every single time I had gone to OB triage, which is instead of going to the emergency room when you're pregnant after a certain amount of time, I think it's 28 weeks. After 28 weeks gestation, that's when they send you up to OB triage instead of the emergency room if you have to go. So every time I'd gotten checked in OB triage, they hook you up to all the monitors and everything, and they monitor if you're having contractions. This little machine will tell you, you know, how strong the contractions are, how far apart they are, everything like that. And usually my contractions were measuring at between 20 and 50, and those felt like I was dying. Like, those did not feel good at all, and those were all Braxton Hicks. For anyone who doesn't know what those are fake contractions. That's basically your body prepping itself for the real thing. So they did that, and I'm sorry if I sound really shaky. Like, I don't know why I'm so shaky, but I am. Anywho, so those ones that measured between 20 and 50, those hurt. Like, they did not feel very good. And the ones after the epidural that they were measuring, they were off the charts, literally. Like, the machine couldn't measure them anymore. They were measuring over 100, and I didn't feel them. Didn't feel a single thing. But, so I was questioning, I'm like, am I still having contractions, or what's happening here? And they're like, yeah, put your hand right here on your belly, and you can feel it hardening. So I was feeling it, and it feels really weird, by the way. Like, your muscles tighten a lot, and it's kind of crazy to feel. But so they were measuring 100 and above, and I didn't feel them at all. So that was kind of cool. But after the epidural, they don't let anybody in the room with you when you're getting the epidural, probably because it can distract you, I guess. I don't know. They didn't explain why, but I presume that's why, so that they can't distract you or make you laugh or anything, which is probably a good thing, because that's what Michael does whenever I'm nervous. He tries to make me laugh. But so he came into the room after they were all done and everything, and him and Stephanie sat with me the entire time. Literally the entire time. And there were a couple other people there, you know, being there for support and everything. Daddy Mike stayed there the entire night that I was there. Well, until after Ethan was here. He stayed until after Ethan was here, and then spent a couple hours with us, and then went home. But, and then I'm sure you guys have heard me talk about a lady that we call Moms. She is our friend's mom, but literally everyone just calls her Moms. She's everybody's mom. So she was there with her may-as-well-be husband, Shane, and Zach came to see us. And I think that's everybody who came to see us that night. But in the room with me, like when I... okay, so I'm getting very off track. I'm sorry. Very, very off track. I'm horribly scatterbrained. When they tell you that mommy brain is a thing, it is definitely a thing. Your brain gets all sorts of jumbled, and you just have no set track at all. It's awful. But anywho, so after the epidural, I was not allowed to eat. I was not allowed to drink. The only thing I was allowed to have was ice chips. Which is really weird if you ask me, because everything that I was reading was saying that is a myth, that you are allowed to eat, but doctors still don't let you. I don't know. But, so they were monitoring me, and they came in about 20 minutes after my epidural and checked me again. And when they checked me that time, I was fully dilated, which is 10 centimeters, fully dilated, and all the way effaced. Like, I was completely thinned out. So normally that would mean you're ready to go. But Ethan was still too far up in the birth canal, so they could feel his head, but he was still too far up for me to push without risking tearing. So they said, we're going to let the contractions do their work a little more. And honestly, I say that it was about 20 minutes, and I try to give exact timing, but honestly, everything flew by. Like, I couldn't tell you the exact times. I'm trying to, but they're probably very wrong. But after they checked me, it felt like it went way faster than it probably did. But they checked me, and I was fully dilated, fully effaced, but he was not low enough. So they said they were going to let the contractions do their work and push him down a little bit further before I actually started pushing myself. So they checked me a couple more times, and the second or third time they checked me, I don't remember, the second or third time that they checked me, they said, well, it'll probably be another 2, maybe 3 hours, and then you'll be ready to push. And then expect 2 or 3 hours of pushing. So I'm like, alright, I'm looking at the clock, trying to gauge out the time, see if I'm going to have a June 6th baby or a June 7th baby. And they were telling me all this, and then the doctor came in maybe 5 minutes later and said, alright, you're ready to have a baby. So that was going on. Daddy Mike left the room, and then Moms came in. And Moms, Stephanie, and Michael were in the room with me during delivery. And they have you push in sets of 3 every time a contraction hits, or at least that's how my doctors did it. I don't know if other doctors do it differently. This is my first baby. I don't know. So, after they have you push in sets of 3 every time you get a contraction. They tell you to push, and then they tell you to count. They count to 10, and then have you release, and then take a big breath, and then do it again, and they have you do it 3 times for every contraction. And it was 3 or 4 sets of 3, so it was between 9 and 12 pushes that he was here. Yeah, it was between 9 and 12 pushes that he was fully out and here and everything. And they said it was going to be 2 or 3 hours of pushing. I was pushing less than an hour. Less than an hour, and he was here. It was a very, luckily, easy delivery, which is really cool. I was fully expecting to be pushing longer than that, but thankfully, I was not. So they get him out and let Michael cut the cord. And honestly, everyone tells you that the most, heart-stopping moment of having a baby is after they come out, waiting to hear the baby cry. And that was honestly what I was terrified of. I was terrified that it was going to take forever to hear it. But it really didn't. He started crying immediately. No problem. So I didn't have to deal with that, heart-wrenching, is my baby okay type moment. So he was crying immediately, and they let Michael cut the cord. They cleaned him off and set him on my chest, and he was crying for 10 seconds, just basically letting us know, hey, I'm good. He peed and pooped on the doctors immediately, which is kind of funny, and that was my big, yep, that's my kid type moment. But as soon as they laid him on my chest, he flipped everyone the bird. Yep, held up that middle finger like he knew what he was doing, and that's when Michael was like, yep, that's my kid. That is my son right there. So that was kind of funny, actually. But after the baby's out, they say that the baby should have an hour of uninterrupted skin-to-skin contact with mom. So they laid him on my chest, and I got to hold him for the first hour, and that was nice, because I knew very well that as soon as they got the chance, Michael and or Daddy Mike would take him. They would take him, and they would hold him, because, it's Michael's son, and then Daddy Mike's grandson. So they were excited as well, and they were like, nope, I'm going to take him, I'm going to hold him, and that's just it. You got to hold him for 9 months. It's our turn. So, I got the first hour, which was nice. And then, after that, Michael was very ecstatic to hold him, and then Daddy Mike got to hold him, and he was born at 10:50, by the way, 10:50 at night. So I don't know exactly what time I went into the hospital, and I don't know exactly what time I got back to labor and delivery. I'm sorry it's getting so dark. I'm recording this at 8 o'clock. So it's very slowly, well, I say very slowly, but it seems like it's rather quick. It's been 20 minutes now, and it's already dark. Well, getting dark. Sun's still going down. But, yeah, so I apologize for that. Let's see if I can maneuver my way back so that you can see me a little bit better. No, that is way worse. Alright. Look at me not knowing science and stuff. Anywho, so, where was I? He was born at 10:50 almost 11 o'clock. So he was born 12 minutes shy of when I was. I was born at 11:52 p.m. and he was born at, or 11:02 p.m. and he was born at 10:50. So he was very close to the time that I was born, and he was very close to the weight that I was born. I was born at 6 pounds 5 ounces, and Ethan was born at 6 pounds 7. So he was born very close to my weight, very close to my height, and very close to my time. He was, I don't remember how tall or how long I was when I was born. I don't recall. Well, I say I don't recall like I would know, but I don't remember what my mom said that I was. He was 19 and a half, though. 19 and a half inches. So, I know that was very close to what I was. I was 20 and something, or 21 and something. I don't remember what my mom said it was. I was somewhere in there. And, so yeah, he was very close to me in every aspect, which was kind of cool for me, honestly. And, so, after that, they got me back into a room that I got to stay in for the couple days that I was there. He was born on that Tuesday, and we got to go home on Thursday. So, yeah, they want to keep you for 24 hours after the baby's born, but since it was so late at night that he was born, they didn't want to send me home, that late at night with a newborn, which is understandable. I probably would have cried, like, what do I do? Are you sure that this is a good idea? Let's see if turning on this light will help. There's a light on the deck. And it helped a tiny bit, very tiny bit. Very, very tiny bit. But this is better. This is better. So I'll just lean over here. It's okay. I don't have a chair over here, but I'll just lean. It's okay. I'll be fine. This video is almost done anyway. So, yeah. That's how my delivery went. It was very, very easy, for being the first. They say that the first delivery is the hardest. And if that's the case, then if I ever have another kid, that kid's just gonna slide right out, basically. So it's cool that, I got to go through that, and that, Michael got to be there, that his dad got to be there, that, my best friend got to be there. It sucks that my mom didn't get to be there, but, I called her literally immediately after I got off the phone with Michael. I called my mom to tell her, hey, I'm in labor. And she took off work almost immediately and drove from Illinois all the way to Tennessee to come and, be with us. And she got here the morning after. So she came and she got to see Ethan and spend time with him in the hospital. And she stayed pretty much all day the second day. And then came to the hospital right after she woke up Thursday morning and stayed with us until they discharged us. And then she came and stayed over at the house for a little bit before leaving to go back to Illinois, because, it was still the middle of the week. She still had to work, so, yeah. But she did come and visit again, earlier this month? I think it was earlier this month. Yeah. Yeah, it was, the weekend before July 4th. Yeah. I'm telling you, mommy brain's a real thing. So her and my stepdad Tim and his mom and stepdad Joanne and Mike, they all came and hung out and spent time with us, and that was cool. So they all got to meet Ethan, because Tim didn't get to come because he was sick, and Mike and Joanne, they have jobs. So they wanted to let my mom get time with Ethan, before they just came and, hijacked him. So, yeah, they all got to come and meet Ethan earlier this month, and that was really cool. But that has nothing to do with my labor and delivery, so I apologize. I am scatterbrained and god-awful. I'm horrible. Anywho, so that's my labor and delivery story. It was very easy, rather painless, actually. I didn't feel any pain, during, at all. I felt great. Most of what I felt was just pressure, and then, fear. And excitement. Very, very much excitement, but fear. A lot of it. I'm not even gonna lie, I was terrified. Recovery afterwards was not the best. It didn't feel the best, but I'm fairly well recovered now. I don't go in for my checkup until next Monday, so the 17th. That's when I go in for my checkup to make sure that I am fully recovered and that I can get back to normal everyday life, which will be nice because if you expect to go back to being as nice and skinny and flat as you were before pregnancy, immediately after, lose that expectation now, because you won't. You will be flabby for a little bit. It takes workout, and it takes effort to get back to what you were. So I am excited to be able to start working out again and get back to what I was before. So yeah. I believe that's all that I was, gonna talk about and everything. And Dad's home, so perfect timing. So yeah, that was my delivery. That was my labor and delivery. Very simple, very painless. I didn't have any complications whatsoever, so that was nice. But yeah, so that's my story. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and found it helpful for, anyone who's looking to become pregnant or who is pregnant and is, worried about, I'm sorry about the noise. That truck is very, very not quiet. And he has a trailer attached to it, so that's also very not quiet. Loud, that's the word I was looking for. But yeah, so I hope you guys found this video helpful. And for anyone who is pregnant or is looking to become pregnant, feel free to message me and ask me anything that you could possibly ask. And if I can answer it, I will. If not, I will try my best to find out the answer and tell you. But yeah, so that's about it for this video. I will post my bumpy picture, like, evolution throughout my pregnancy. Basically what that is just a picture of my belly every week of pregnancy to show the growth. I'll post that here in a few days, probably. Within the next few days, I'll post that. And, yeah. So, hope you guys have an awesome day. I hope you guys had an awesome 4th of July. I know that's, a little bit past now, but I hope you guys had an awesome 4th of July, and I hope you guys continue to have awesome days and everything until I talk to you guys again. So, I will talk at you in some other video. Bye!